The whisper behind the curtain. My child, come close now and listen, not with ears of flesh, but with a heart that has endured the storm. For there are words that have floated on the winds of secret chambers, spoken in circles where you were not present, yet you were the subject. There were voices you once trusted, faces you believed bore kindness, but behind veils, something else was unfolding. They showed your photo to their closest friends. Yes, this happened. They didn't do it with the reverence your presence deserves. They didn't do it with a pure heart, seeking truth or celebration. No, they did it in shadows, passing your image like a token of laughter, of judgment, of shallow curiosity. And when they spoke of you, child of light, it was not as heaven speaks. It was not in the spirit of love. 2. What they discussed, the room without you. In hushed tones and smirking eyes, they dissected you, not with hands of healing, but with words that cut like blades. They said things not rooted in truth, but born of their own limitations. They labeled you with names heaven never gave you. They questioned your beauty, your worth, your motives, your past, and even your heart. They tried to define you in fragments they didn't understand. They didn't know how deeply you love. They didn't understand how sacred your silence has been. They didn't realize how many battles you fought to stand with grace. To them, your photo was a symbol not of the real you, but of a version they needed to mock so they could feel superior. 3. Discovery, what you never asked to hear, and what they discovered about you. They discovered light they couldn't comprehend, so they called it strange. They saw depth they could not swim in, so they called it drama. They felt power they couldn't dominate, so they called it too much. They glimpsed love they couldn't return, so they called it obsession. They discovered a mirror they didn't like, because your presence made them see their own shadows. They judged what they feared. They spoke where they should have listened. And when they laughed, they sowed sorrow that now clings to their own energy. It would be sad to hear, I know. In fact, 4. Please take a breath before you hear this. Please, beloved, before this next part. Breathe, breathe, because I am about to tell you something painful. But I will not leave you in the pain. I will walk you through it into power. You see, the truth is not always warm at first. It burns before it heals. And this truth is this. They never really saw you. They never truly looked beyond the surface. They saw your picture, but not your process. They saw your face, but not your faith. They saw your posture, but not your pain. They saw your smile, but not your story. They judged your scars without knowing how you bled. They questioned your silence without knowing how much you had to endure to speak no bitterness. They mocked your love because it exposed their inability to give real love back. 5. Why you had to know. Why are you hearing this now? Because heaven is tired of you wondering what went wrong. Because the divine wants to close the doors you keep reaching back toward. Because what they discussed wasn't a reflection of you. It was a revelation of them. This is not about revenge. This is not about hate. This is revelation, pure, surgical, and sacred. You had to know, not to harden your heart, but to understand why it is time to let go. Not to seek vengeance, but to walk away without guilt. Not to argue with them, but to finally stop arguing with yourself. 6. You are the mirror of their insecurity. You, beloved, are not the insults they whispered. You are the echo of their inner conflict. Your love was too big for their cages. Your truth was too loud for their silence. Your peace disturbed their chaos. And so, they did what the insecure do. They tried to reduce what they couldn't rise to. But the divine does not reduce you. Heaven does not gossip about you. The angels didn't flinch when they heard what was said. They gathered closer. They wept for the word spoken, and they whispered strength into your soul even when you didn't know you were being defended by the unseen. 7. The court of heaven's verdict. And what is heaven's verdict? You are not guilty of being too much. You are not guilty of loving with intensity. You are not guilty of showing up again and again, even when your spirit was tired. You are not guilty for giving your best to those who gave you their worst. Heaven declares, you are chosen. You are holy. You are rising. Their opinions are not prophesies. Their jokes are not judgments heaven honors. Their laughter does not determine your legacy. 8. Let this be the last time you cry over their words. Child of God, let this be the last tear you shed for those who did not deserve your loyalty. Let this be the last night you revisit conversations that hurt you. Let this be the final breath you spend trying to change a narrative written by those who were never meant to be your authors. You were not built to be understood by small rooms. You were created for sanctuaries, not gossip circles. You were destined for divine partnerships, not counterfeit companionships. 9. Rise. The shift has begun. Do you feel that, even now? That release in your chest? That ache that's finally losing its grip? That is freedom arriving. You are rising now, not in bitterness, but in clarity. Not in vengeance, but in power. You don't need to fight back. The fight is already over. The revelation has done its work. From this moment, walk differently. Speak differently. Love yourself with the force you once used to rescue others. They may have shared your photo, but they could never carry your soul. 10. What the divine saw when others mocked. When they showed your image and laughed, heaven stood still. When they analyzed your face, your clothes, your expression, heaven saw your essence. The divine remembered the night you cried yourself to sleep, but still got up the next day to love. The angels recorded your resilience. They didn't see it, but God saw it all. You are not alone. You never were. 11. They will remember you differently. And here's something sacred. One day, the memory of you will shift. Not because you argued, not because you proved them wrong, but because the truth always rises, like oil in water. One day, they will remember the kindness you gave them freely. They will feel the absence of your spirit and realize it was never ordinary. One day, when the crowds are gone and the masks fall off, they will remember the one who carried sacredness in silence. By then, you'll be long gone, healed, whole, higher. 12. Heaven's final word. You were not rejected. You were revealed. They were not your punishment. They were your preparation. This was not a curse. This was a course correction. Now, beloved, go in peace. Leave behind the echoes of rooms you no longer belong in. Pick up your crown from where you laid it down to be accepted. Put it on. Stand tall. And never again reduce yourself for those who could not see the divine within you. They showed your photo to their closest friends, what they discussed and discovered about you. It's sad if you hear about it. Please take a breath before you hear this. But now you've heard it, and now you are free. Go live like it. Would you like this in a printable format or stylized as a digital art scroll or devotional?